Alright, we were talking about, my video cut me off there, so I could actually post it to YouTube. It cuts me off at before 15 minutes, but we were talking about Bonfire of the Damned and why it's not seeing a ton of play. But then while that video was uploading, what did you just bring up, Sasha? What was it?
I brought up trading post shenanigans and how good trading post is going to be if we get any artifact related stuff in Gatecrash.
And then what was the next card that you mentioned?
Voltaic Key, but that doesn't exist. Started brewing with Clock of Omens to untap my trading post.
Yeah, which... No,
it's like a Time Walk, man.
Literally no one knows what Clock of Omens does.
It's 4 mana Time Walk.
You think everything is a Time Walk.
Well, you untap your trading post. You only do that once a turn, so it's like a Time Walk.
That sounds terrible. I mean, the reason Trading Post hasn't been seeing a lot of play in Standard is because all of the artifacts blow.
Right. But wait for a good one.
You have, like... Yeah, but it's not an artifact set, bro. It's a fucking, multicolor set.
Yeah, but, like, even equipment's insane. Like, Sands of Delirium's not that bad.
Why? I mean, you can just run Sands of Delirium in the form of, Nephalia Drownyard. That's what people are doing.
Right, but, like, if you run Drownyard, Jace, and Sands of Delirium, like, sure, Detention Sphere is generic, but just have some way to interact with it. Like, even Runechainer's Pike.
I like Runechainer's Pike, but, I mean, one of the problems we run in with Runechainer's Pike is not having enough instants and sorceries, because, like, Delver used that card way better, because they could cast all their cantrips for free, like Jataxian Probe, like, playing a million Ponders to flip their Delver. Like, they had so many one-mana cantrips.
Right.
Like, unless you're actively milling yourself, like, you have Thought Scour, but that's it.
Actually, I built up a version which is, like, Forbidden Alchemy, Thought Scour, Tracker's Instincts, I think, as well.
I don't know. I feel like Tracker's Instincts is too slow. I remember playing with that in Block Constructed, and that format was even fast. Well, it was obviously faster than Standard is right now. Standard right now is insanely slow.
Right.
Like, you can literally... Like, if you're not up against an aggro deck, you can expect to be living for about 20 turns, even if you're not doing anything.
Right. Yeah. Like, another card that I brewed with it is, like, Scroll of Gristlebrand, if you know what it does.
Yeah, no, I like Scroll of Gristlebrand, and I also really like the Angel Life Gain one. I like the Angel Life Gain one more because you can play... Like, the next card I add to that deck is Restoration Angel, so, like, at least you're on the right track there, you know, with playing good cards.
No, but, like, if you scroll a Gristlebrand with Trading Post, you can just lock them out of draw steps forever. Because you just recur the scroll every turn and activate on their draw step.
Right. They also have to be out of cards in their hand, which is not likely with Sphinx's Revelation in the format.
Yeah, but, like, even if they draw Sphinx's Revelation, in response to you cracking the scroll, they can use it, which is annoying.
Yeah, let's talk about Bonfire of the Damned.
Okay.
So, the reason Bonfire of the Damned was so good when it came out, and it was insane, like, how much money did that get up to? It was like 60 per, right? Or 50 was the
50
highest?
to 60.
Yeah, it was the highest that it got. And I remember telling some of my friends, I was like, if Bonfire doesn't get banned, like, there's no reason not to play it. But then Thragtusk made such a presence in the... I know Thragtusk was legal then, but Thragtusk wasn't seeing any play. Now that Thragtusk is so good, Bonfire isn't as good, because Bonfire doesn't kill the Thragtusk, because a beast is still left behind. And when you Bonfired somebody, their life total was like a big liability, because sometimes you were playing against a Delver deck, and not only were you Bonfiring their whole board when you Bonfire for three or four, but they might have already been at like 14 life from Jataxian Probes, and, you know, maybe taking a hit or two.
Yeah.
And then you Bonfire them and swing in, like that. A lot of the times that was just game.
Yeah, Bonfire's like the least card you want to see when you're playing Delver.
But now they top deck a Bonfire and Bonfire you for 5. You take 5, which, if you played a Thragtusk, you're back to 20, and then you get a beast to block.
Yeah, it's just like 2 out of 3.
Right. But then again, like, Bonfire is kind of hard to play, even in, like, a control-y style deck, because, I mean, like...
You can't manipulate the top of your library.
I mean, there are certain ways of doing it, but not, like, really good ways of doing it, you know? There's no Jason Mind Sculptor or Brainstorm or anything.
Yeah.
I also think
Wish we had Jace.
I also think Olivia is really good. She just, like, takes over a game. I played against a guy on Moto who was playing a Grixis deck, and literally his only win condition in the deck was, like, 2 or 3 Olivias and, like, one other card. I forget what it was.
Drownyard or Jace Memory Adept?
No, it wasn't even that techy. It was just, like, Searing Spears or something like that.
Ew.
It was, like, literally his only win condition, but then he ran 1,000,000 removal spells and 1,000,000 counter spells. And, like, I just ran out of shit.
Yeah.
And, like, I also didn't see my Caverns in that match, but...
Yeah, I can imagine, like, Cavern's Thragtusk on the slow roll seems like crushed
Oh,
it.
Cavern would have totally fucked him if I saw it, but I remember just in my head being like, Cavern, anytime now.
Please, Dick.
Yeah. That's enough about John. But then, Standard, so we were kind of talking about, like, Thragtusk and how you shouldn't really be playing a mid-range deck right now, just because, like, Thragtusk is the mid-range. It's dragging every deck towards this mid-rangey format, and everyone's kind of struggling to either go under Thragtusk or over Thragtusk, because you don't want to be playing a mid-range deck.
Yeah, it's, like, impossible to go through it.
It really is. Thragtusk is just a monster. And one of the answers to Thragtusk is just playing your own Thragtusk. Like, it's a card you should be playing right now.
Yep.
And it shuts off... The reason the reason I made this slide and not go small with a bunch of little one-drop Champion of the Parish style things is just because, like, the 5 life gain on Thragtusk is so good.
Yeah.
It stabilizes you so hard, and then also Angel of Serenity does an awesome job of stabilizing you as well.
Like, Restoration Angel of the Thragtusk is pretty much a good game against a lot of decks.
Yeah. But yeah, so, like, that's why, like... I mean, we originally started working with Craterhoof Behemoth when we started noticing that life totals were so high. And that guy's a monster. Yeah. And he can definitely roll over a Thragtusk pretty easily. But then, like, if you just don't worry about life totals at all, you can play with Door to Nothingness, or you can just play a mill strategy, which we even... weren't you playing, like, your first Epic Experiment deck ran Psychic Spiral?
Yeah, I was running Psychic Spiral for a long time. I tried to make so many Psychic Spiral control decks.
Yeah.
But
it's
Thragtusk
funny.
is just too big of a 2-for-1.
You think of all, like, the jankiest ideas, but, like, honestly, if you weren't around, I don't think I'd ever think of those. And it's funny because probably, like, 1 in 10 of those ideas we, like, stop and actually start thinking about. And then, like eventually we'll develop a tech off of one of those, like...
Yeah, like, if I think of everything, something's bound to be correct, right?
Right. I generally try to work with, like, what I know are the good cards in the format and try to test to find what the good cards are, and then you kind of, like, go under and try to work with some of, like, the... I don't mean to insult you, but Conley Woods-esque cards.
It's like underrated cards which are terrible but might have a position.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even Judge's Familiar, like, I don't think that card's terrible. I honestly, when I first saw it, I thought it was going to see more play in older formats, just as, like, a Curse Catcher that's not a Merfolk.
Right. How good is Curse Catcher, really?
I don't know. Merfolk has always been a deck. It's kind of like the affinity of older formats, you know? Like, it's never not existed.
Right. It even exists in Modern.
I know. And Legacy. Yeah, and Legacy, using a Force of Will, pitching a Lord of Atlantis, kind of sweet.
Yeah, casting Force of Will's kind of sweet.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, this is just like 3 different angles to like attack the format.
What?
The going big style.
Oh, here?
Yeah, the one before.
Well, these are the things that I would be doing in the metagame right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I mean, you could even add the Sands of Delirium to the Jace Memory Adept package. I just think that the problem with Sands of Delirium is it doesn't really do much else.
Yeah.
Like, I like that Jace Memory Adepts, like, if you want to, you have the ability to +1 them and, like, just gain card advantage and not worry about the milling thing.
Right.
Which is
like,
fine.
it depends if they're playing Nevermores or Pithing Needles and stuff like that. Just another different angle.
I know, I think Pithing Needle is really good, and it's actually good against all these cards here, because you don't have to name a non-land card. Or, it's not non-land, so you can name Nephalia Drownyard.
Yeah, like, it's good with the trading post as well, if you just mill it, just recur it.
Yeah. I really wanted to play Trinket Mage, like, back when it was legal, and it was frustrating, because they had some good one-drop artifacts pre that season of Standard, but in the current season of Standard, like, the best one you could dig up was, like, there really weren't that many, but, what was the white one that made you a mirror when you paid a white and Zach did?
Something Spellbomb.
Yeah. Forget the name of that. God, it's blanking on me right now. But yeah,
Who cares?
Trinket Mage for Pithing Needle answers a lot of stuff right now. It doesn't answer everything, so it's not a card that I'm, like, considering mainboarding, because, like, you can't Pithing Needle a Thragtusk or a Crater of Behemoth.
Right.
And you can't Pithing Needle a Sphinx's Revelation.
Or a Barrow Right.
Wait, if you Pithing Needle and Burial Rites, can they activate it from the graveyard? I don't think
it's not an activated ability.
Oh, it's like you're casting it, that's right.
Yeah, it's a cost.
I was thinking like Hellspark Elemental with the because that's an activation cost, or that's activation, right?
What, Unearth?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If it's got a colon, then yeah. If it doesn't, then no.
It's an activated ability, because I remember people trying to counter that, and you weren't able to counter, like you weren't able to Mana Leak Unearth.
Alright, yeah. Yeah, you're right, I remember.
So, going on to the non-basic lands. Non-basic lands are sweet, but, like, it's really, like, you really want to, like, branch out into different colors to have access to more powerful things. Because these lands have to be pretty damn powerful. I mean, I think the best ones on this list are probably Cavernous Souls, and honestly, my favorite is Vault of the Archangel. I know Drownyard's been seeing a lot of play lately, and I think Drownyard's up there. It would be top 3 as well, but Vault was the one that was performing so well for us.
Yeah, it just did a lot of work.
Right, like when you have a Vault and a Restoration Angel, and they have a Restoration Angel and no Vault, like, your Restoration Angel is so much better in combat. Because whether they block...
all your creatures are better in combat, they're all removal spells.
Yeah.
Your Thragtusk is more than a 2-for-1.
Yeah. I remember even with the, with Crater Hoof Beam, or no, not Crater Hoof, Armada Worm, the Death Touch and Trample.
Insane.
Yeah, you're just threatening lethal. Not to mention you're also gaining 10 life, so...
Whatever.
I do like Hellion Crucible is one of the lands that you were working with for a long time, and I really like that card.
Yeah, I try to make a lot of blue-red Delver type decks, or blue-red-white decks with Hellion Crucible as another threat.
Yeah, I really wish the Hellion Crucible, it didn't sack, that it just put one into play, so like you could put 2 counters on it and use it, and then the Hellion Crucible would stay in play and you could use it again.
Right, like if it didn't sack, or it cost 1 less counter to make the Hellion, then I think it would be better. But as it is, I think it's just a turn too slow. Even
if it just weren't red, like, red is the worst color in the format right now.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, look at the top tier decks. It's like, I don't even agree with putting red in the Reanimator decks.
Well, it depends if, like, how deep they want to go with Faithless Looting, but that's really it.
I know, but, like, that's, like, the only card they're playing red for, and I don't think the mana base is good enough in current standard. Like, I think their mana bases are so greedy. And
it needs Stomping Ground pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, totally. And, like, they're doing all of that work just to play Faithless Looting, and, like, what else do you get access to? Like, Dreadbore?
Zealous Conscripts, I think.
And Dreadbore is terrible with, like, Mulch and Grizzly Salvage.
Yeah.
But... not Zealous Conscripts, because we play Zealous Conscripts and we don't play a single red land.
Yeah, but they still play it, though.
Yeah, and I've literally never had an issue getting a Zealous Conscripts into play.
Never.
Cavernous Souls is so good. And not to mention we can just Burial Rites it anyways.
Hell yeah.
Good answer to Planeswalkers. Actually,
yeah, it is.
We're going to be talking about Zealous Conscripts in a second here. But I think all these other ones are really good. Like, I've always loved Wolf Run, because, like, even, like, when you were talking about your Judge's Familiar, like, a threat that's that small, like, late game, just dump mana from a Wolf Run into it.
Right. I like Wolf Run a lot as well, in the Thragtusk mirrors.
Yeah. Problem is, it's red.
Yeah. I don't know, if there's Zealous Conscripts my trading post, they can just sack the post to itself and draw a card. That sucks for me.
God, trading post? Really? That's
it's on my brain right now.
Right. But there's no good artifacts.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for some interaction to make it potentially viable.
Well, actually, we're going to talk about later what to keep an eye out for, so we should